Hello, 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 hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Uh, Good numbers. These are good numbers. This is the big news of the day. Tesla reported 480,000 vehicles produced and 466,000 delivered. First thing to note is that Model S and X are not growing. They have been around 20,000 vehicles a quarter. We're seeing 20,000 vehicles a quarter again. The Model 3 and Y numbers are growing. I'm going to show you spreadsheets in a minute just to give you a sense of that. But this is a good number. This is Wall Street was predicting deliveries of about 447,000. So this is a beat of about 20,000. This is a substantial beat. This is what is referred to as a beat. So Tesla over delivered compared to what Wall Street expected. So this is great news. And just really quick, I want to say a thank you to Michael Kippa from New Zealand, I guess, for a super thanks. Thank you so much. Anybody wants to support me here, whether it's a super chat, super thanks, please support me on the Locals platform. I'm going to be doing a live stream after this. I started at 1 o'clock East Coast time. So in roughly an hour from now, I'm going to be doing a second live stream on warrenredlick.locals.com. It's pinned in the chat. warrenredlick.locals.com. I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to talk about the Supreme Court decisions on affirmative action and on student loans. That's like political stuff. I don't talk about that on YouTube censorship, all that. So we're going to talk about that here. But this is, getting back to Tesla, this is good numbers. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about these numbers. We're going to talk about the Dan O'Dowd, Russ Gerber / Alexandra Omar stuff that happened with people freaking out over a stop sign. I want to get into that. We're going to talk about Starship. We're going to talk about Euclid. We're going to talk about Starlink. This is all coming, so let's dive into it. Are you ready? Let's go. Are we still working here? Oh, my goodness. YouTube's messing with me today, so I just want to make sure we're still working. So let's dive into this a little bit more. I want to give you a sense of why this can potentially translate into 2 million vehicles produced this year. This is where we are so far this year. Okay, so we've got Q1 up at the top. Tesla produced 14,000 Model S and X. Sorry, this is Q1 of 2022. This is the last 6 quarters, including the current quarter. So Tesla went from 14,000 S and X and 291,000 3 and Y for a total of 305,000 to 20,000 Model S and X, 460,000 3 and Y, and total of 480,000. I'm going to sneeze now. All right, I'm not going to sneeze now. I thought I had a sneeze in me, but I don't. So what you can see is for the year so far, these are production numbers, not delivery numbers. I just want to be clear. I focus on production rather than delivery. I think delivery follows production. It tends to trail it, but it basically follows it. So if you produce more cars, you're going to deliver more cars. And the goal, as I see it, is for Tesla to produce at least 1.8 million vehicles this year and ideally produce 2 million vehicles this year. What you can see is that in 2022, Tesla produced 1.37 million vehicles. In 2023, in the first half of the year, Tesla produced 920,000. So you're pretty clearly on pace to producing 1.8 million vehicles when you produce more than half of 1.8 million in the first half of the year. Yeah, Tesla Man t-shirt at elonbits.com, by the way. So the question is, can we get to 2 million? This gets us over 1.8 million. Can we get to 2 million? So we're going to dive into that here. This is my forecast. This is not like a firm prediction, but this is with 8% quarter-on-quarter growth for the next 2 quarters. You can see Q2 was a bad quarter. Q3 was an unnaturally large growth because Q2 was a bad quarter, 2022. But you can see there was substantial growth. Then we had kind of a flat quarter in Q1. We had 9% growth in Q2. Can we continue to do 8% per quarter growth? If we continue to do 8% per quarter growth, then ballpark, we're going to get 520,000 total vehicles in Q3 produced, not delivered, and 560,000 vehicles produced in Q4, and you end up with a total of just over 2 million vehicles produced. So that's how we get to 2 million. If we only do 1.8 million, that's still a lot more than 1.37 million. But I think we got a good shot at getting to 2 million vehicles produced. I think there's a chance of going higher than this. There's a chance that S and X grow. I've modeled S and X not growing. I modeled S and X staying flat at 20,000. I think that's probably likely. I'm not focused on margins. I don't really care about the profit numbers. I think that this is Matt Burns. And by the way, people who support me on the Locals platform, on Patreon, as YouTube channel members, or as Twitter subscribers, I ask before every live stream, and roughly a day before, hey, if you have any questions for the live stream, please submit your questions. And nobody asked questions this week. I'm not sure why. But when people submit those questions, I address those questions first. So Matt Burns asked for a margin estimate. I don't care. I don't think short-term profits matter if you are a long-term investor. What matters is the long-term, getting a lot of vehicles out there and the progress of FSD, which we're going to talk about later in this video. Did I include Cybertruck in the production growth? No, Cybertruck is going to be 1,000 vehicles, 5,000 vehicles. I mean, that'll make it a little more likely to get to 2 million if they can pop out 5,000 Cybertrucks, but I don't expect a significant volume of Cybertrucks this year. So, I mean, it is a good point. I should have included Cybertruck in the chart, but it's just not enough. I don't think the numbers are going to be big enough for it to matter. NC Spence says they need to manufacture S and X cheaper so it can be at the $80,000 number so they can get the tax incentive. Only the X would qualify if you got to $80,000. That would be a $20,000 price drop. I don't know if they can pull that off with any margins. So $2 trillion market cap by year end. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think that's likely. I want to focus on, so this is the, like, do people have any questions about the production and delivery numbers? Let me put up the production delivery. So you can see it was 466,000 delivered. I didn't run the numbers, but I think you're probably at significantly less than 900,000 total deliveries for the year so far. So whether they get to 1.8 million deliveries is an open question, but 1.8 million production looks like a lock, unless there's some massive, force majeure event, something like that. Increase in inventory, more cars on boats. It's all dependent on Model 3 and Y. Why do people complain about inventory growth? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people care about that. I think Cybertruck production will be large in 2024. I don't know if I would call it massive. I think by the end of 2024, Cybertruck will hopefully be on a 5,000 a week run rate. That would be pretty good. So we're looking good. Yeah, FST12. Elon did say that FST12 would not be beta, but Elon says stuff, and I'm not too worried about that issue either. So, all right. So this is, just to be clear, this is, the last two rows are numbers that I made up, but they assume roughly 8% growth quarter on quarter, which is not out of line with growth we've seen from Tesla in the past. That's not 50% growth on an annual basis, going up 8% a quarter. So that's not that big of a deal. And you still get to 2 million units produced by the end of 2023. Now, if they go up, it may be bigger than this. It may be that we see a surge at Berlin. It may be we see a surge at Texas. It may be that Shanghai kicks into gear, kicks back into gear. We don't know. So Spency Spence says they have to hit 500,000 plus to hit 2 million. Yeah, if they just did 480,000 in the next 2 quarters, in other words, if they didn't grow at all, they would still be over 1.8 million. But to get to 2 million produced, again, produced not delivered, these are the kind of numbers they have to deliver, the 520,000 total in Q3 and the 560,000 in Q4. And yeah, it's a good point. Add in, let's say, 5,000 Cybertrucks. That helps us get there a little bit. Is Fremont expected to continue? As far as I know, Fremont and Shanghai are not growing at the moment. I think there's potential for them both to grow, but so far they're not growing. There's also a theory that Project Highland is going to shut down, Model 3 lines in Shanghai for a period of time. And then once Project Highland ramps, we're going to see faster growth, but the delay in production of Model 3 could hurt overall numbers. I don't think Project Highland is a reality, so I think that's like a fantasy people have. Oh, good question from Quentin Johnson. How will the 4680 ramp impact your Q3 and Q4 estimates? I think this is in line with a normal Q3 and Q4, with a normal 4680 ramp. I don't think 4680 is ramping gradually. They're making progress. The primary use of 4680 cells is going to be in the Cybertruck. They are using a substantial number of them in Model 3 and Model Y, I should say, in Texas. More is better. That's really more of a long-term future of the company. Once they get the 4680 production ramped, then they can replicate that on more lines, and they can do that in more places, and that's where it really gets big. And then they can work on engineering better cell chemistry, and better structural packs, and a lot of things can get there. Elon didn't say they will hit 2 million. He said they have a shot at hitting 2 million. Philip says, want to buy a Model Y. Is there a way to ensure I buy an Austin-built Model Y, Austin-built Tesla? If you buy the Model Y, not long range and not performance, that will be produced in Texas. If you want to buy a long range or performance, I'm not sure how that would work with you in Fremont and Texas. Model Y Austin slowed for upgrades. Workers shifted to Cybertruck production. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe that's a Joe Tetmeyer thing. I don't know. By the way, in addition to the t-shirt, we got the stainless steel water bottles at elonbits.com. I think Cybertruck will be 1 to 5,000 units in the year. I mean, look at Semi. They delivered like 50. We'll see. I'd like to think that they're going to ramp quicker than that, but I think we'll be lucky to get 1,000 Cybertrucks out by the end of the year. Maybe we get 5,000. That would be fantastic. I'm number 10,000 or so I'm not expecting to get mine until next year, if I'm even here. I'll be talking about that on my second stream on the Daily Live, where I'm going to be. If you don't know I'm moving to Japan, whether I'll be back in time for the Cybertruck, we'll see. Or whether I'll come back for the Cybertruck, we'll see. Okay, so let's move on, and we're going to come back to this. How much whale money comes into Tesla if Wall Street likes the numbers? I was kind of going to talk about that, so let me talk about that. I expect that Tesla stock will go up Monday morning. Like when the stock market opens on Monday morning, assuming that the stock market is open Monday. I think, is the stock market even open Monday? I don't even know whether the stock market's open on Monday. Assuming the stock market is open on Monday or whatever the next day the stock market opens, I would expect the Tesla stock will open up. It'll open up 5 or 10%. But Wall Street is really weird. It's very hard to predict Wall Street behavior. It's entirely possible there'll be some other event that happens in the next 12 hours. Some story out of Ukraine, some story out of Taiwan, something comes up. People freak out about some random thing. There's, Tesla Q manufactures a story about a Tesla crash. We've seen that happen before, that there's good Tesla news, and then before the market opens, somebody manufactures a story. So, and if the story ends up being false. But I don't know if it'd be an 8% move. I think we could see, the stock could be up 5 or 10%, but it's really like, calling tea leaves. Would I export the Cybertruck to Japan? I've thought about that. I think it would cost too much and be too much of a hassle. Okay, so I want to move on, and here's what I want to talk about. I don't have any images for this, but there was an incident in like the past week. A guy named Ross Gerber, if you follow him, Gerber Kawasaki, he's a fairly significant influencer in the Tesla community. I think he's lost a lot of credibility over the last year, but he has a big following. He has a lot of people follow him on Twitter. He met up with a guy named Dan O'Dowd, who is an FSD hater. He owns 5 Teslas. He says he doesn't hate Tesla, but he really doesn't like Elon. He really doesn't like FSD. He spends money advertising against FSD. It doesn't seem like somebody who likes Tesla, but whatever. He's kind of a cranky old man. So Ross Gerber, for some reason, takes him for a drive in his Model S. And there's a moment where it doesn't perform well at a stop sign, coming around a blind curve. I don't know. There's questions about whether Ross had his foot in the accelerator pedal. There's questions about whether the car really stopped at the stop line or would have stopped at the stop line. I don't have an answer to any of that. All I know is it was pretty much a dumb move to take this guy who's a Tesla, who's not going to change his mind. If the car had done everything perfectly the entire trip, it wasn't going to change his mind. And if you give him one little thing, which is what happened, he runs with it. He tweets a video of the incident, and he gets 25 million views. And a lot of people who are not Tesla fans and not Tesla haters see this video, and it makes Tesla look bad. So Ross Gerber, who claims he understands public relations, and then Ross does his own video a few days later that's too long. It's cute, but it's too long. It gets like 500,000 views. Tesla fans watch it. Nobody else watches it. This demonstrates that Ross doesn't understand how to do PR. You want to do things that get you a lot of positives and don't get you a lot of negatives. And the game that Ross played got Tesla a lot of negatives. Now, this isn't going to matter in the long term, but it's not helpful. After that, Alexandra Mertz, known as Tesla Boomer Mama, sets up a Twitter space, and Dan O'Dowd comes into the Twitter space, and they end up having a back and forth. And Omar, aka Holmar's blog, Holmar's catalog, jumps in. And the way I heard it, being a trial lawyer, used to questioning witnesses who are what we would call adverse or hostile, I know how you do it, and I have done it. And you don't do it the way they did it. They jumped in right at the beginning, accusing him of bias, asking him questions, trying to explore whether he was biased against Tesla because of his business. He answered those questions very well, made it look like they were picking on him, had unreasonable assumptions about him, and made him look better. Later on, there were some things that happened where he said some things that showed what I think are mistakes in his understanding of FSD. And I didn't listen to the whole thing because, frankly, it was really annoying, but I got about halfway through. And there are some key things that people miss. And then there's a response to this conversation that shows I think people miss something. And let me be clear about this. The Tesla autopilot team is not sitting there waiting for people to say, hey, I have a problem with stop sign X, fix it. That's not how the team is working. Okay? This is not what autopilot is about. Okay, so there's a video. This video was 9 days ago. This is one of the guys from the Tesla team explaining what they're doing on the autopilot team to try to make autopilot work better. Phil Dwan, he's a Tesla employee. Go on YouTube and search for CVPR23 Phil Dwan, or just search for Phil Dwan, D-U-A-N, on YouTube. You will find this video. It's technical, right? It's a technical talk about the occupancy network. But if you look at it at a high level, you watch it a couple times if you have to, you get the sense of here's what they're trying to do. And you can see this. And this is the thing that, as far as I know, nobody asked Dan O'Dowd this. Look, he's paying for his own platform. You don't have to give him a platform. He's paying for a platform. I don't think you should give him more attention, and I don't think you should give him more attention in a way that ends up making him look good and making Tesla look bad. That's not good. But at one point, he mentioned that Tesla needs to use binocular vision, not apparently realizing that this is what Phil Dwan was talking about. Tesla uses 8 cameras to build what they call an occupancy network, to basically build a 3D model or vector space of the world around the car and identify what's around the car and predict where they're going to move, where everything's going to move. That's a different challenge from the edge case of a stop sign around a corner, right? That's an important challenge, but that's not what they're focused on. And no, I don't think anybody asked them, do you read the release notes? You read the release notes. This is the latest release notes. Improved short deadline lane changes, improved offset consistency, improved handling of oncoming cars, improved occupancy flow prediction from the occupancy network for arbitrary moving obstacles by 8%. They're trying to improve the car's understanding of the world. This is from 11.4.3. Among other improvements, the perception of lanes in city streets improved by 36%, forks improved by 44%, merges improved by 27%, and turns improved by 16%. 16% reduction in false negative median detections. Improved motorbike recall by 8%, increased vehicle detection precision to reduce false positive detections. They're trying to improve. What the autopilot team is doing is they're trying to get the car to understand the world around it better, to understand where objects are, what they are, where they might move to. This is what autopilot is doing. This is what the Tesla Vision system is about. And yes, Spence, that it is what Optimus is using. That's actually, Phil Dwan mentions that in his talk. So the idea that, and I see a lot of people, and I've had this feeling myself, frankly, my car's had this problem, for 7 months. Why haven't they fixed it yet? Because the release notes are not, we addressed Warren's problem, right? There's one incident that I can think of in the release notes where they identified a particular problem that was identified by a particular individual, Chuck Cook's left turn. But that is not what they are doing. That is not the job of the Tesla autopilot team, is to fix individually reported problems. The fact that 3 of you have the same problem is not significant when there's 400,000 cars out there driving. I don't care if 100 of you are having that problem. There's 400,000 cars driving. What they are trying to do is they are trying to improve the car's understanding of the world around it. They are trying to see objects. They're trying to identify what objects are, and they're trying to predict how they move so that the car can move through space more effectively. And they're trying to work on moving through that space effectively. They are not sitting there, reading Twitter to see who's complaining about this intersection or that lane change and trying to fix that. So that's something that is a real misunderstanding. Let me just address this. 472 Water says, "Are you really saying Dojo is 10x better than Nvidia? I don't know how that's possible." My uncle says it. I think they said that Dojo is aspirationally 10x better than Nvidia, but no, the specific numbers they gave, um, the specific numbers I think they gave were like they're maybe about 4x better than the A100 on key tasks that Tesla Autopilot needs it for. I'm sure there's other things that Nvidia is better at, but there's certain tasks they were focusing on where they were getting like 2x better, and they thought if they changed these things they get to 4x better. And I think since then they said they've achieved those numbers. So and then there's a version 2 of Dojo coming that's supposed to be 10x better than version 1. So there's I don't think they're 10x better than Nvidia, but if they're as good as Nvidia, and Nvidia is a $1 trillion company, then it's a $1 trillion company. Sorry, that's related to a video on my channel I did recently where I talked about why I think Tesla Project Dojo itself might be worth $1 trillion, because it compares roughly to what Nvidia is doing. They're doing AI training. Nvidia's valuation is being driven by selling GPUs that do AI training, and Dojo does AI training. And so if Dojo is as fast or faster than Nvidia, and Tesla has a better implementation of it, and they're eventually going to do AI training as a service, seems likely, then the value, and Elon has talked about like something similar to Amazon Web Services, then that little detail may be as good, maybe as valuable as Nvidia. And I believe, by the way, that the chart that they had that showed Tesla AI did a chart. I think I did a video about this already. They did a chart that showed 100 exaflops by late 2024. I think that's about 20x what Tesla has today, not 100x what Tesla has today. But it's still radical improvement. If Tesla is so close to solving FSD, why need all these exaflops? I think that even once they solve FSD, it's not just solving FSD, it's making it, first you need to make it safer than human, then you need to make it twice as safe as human driver, then you need to make it 5 times as safe as human driver, then you need to make it 10 times as safe as human driver, then you want to make it 100 times as safe as human driver, and also you need this for bot. Optimus is going to be using the same type of stuff, it's going to be using more complex stuff, there's going to be more complex challenges for Optimus, and then later you sell AI training as a service. So, sorry. I want to show the next thing. I did the release notes. Oh yeah, I want to show this. Oh. All right. This is just other news. Volkswagen scaling back EV production. I don't know why my sinuses were fine all morning. All of a sudden my sinuses flip out when I go live. Volkswagen scales back EV production. That's not a good sign for Volkswagen. Another piece of news. Sorry. Japan, Tesla is installing superchargers at Family Mart. Family Mart is kind of like a 7-Eleven without a gas station. So now it's a 7-Eleven with superchargers, and they put 4 superchargers at a Family Mart, and this is a Family Mart announcement that they are planning on installing more. This is the first of many that they will be installing superchargers. This is a good thing. This is a sign of potential expansion. They've been promoting quick chargers. They have quick chargers in 600 stores, but they're now doing superchargers instead of other quick chargers or in addition to other quick chargers. Can I comment any relationship between Dojo, Crew, and Neuralink? I'm sure there's some crossover, but I don't think that's a direct line. Melody says Dojo is built by Tesla for Tesla, building the chips for their specific needs. NVIDIA is a high-quality generic chip. The V2 version of Dojo will be more generic, is what Elon said. Yeah, and just to be clear about that whole incident with the Ross Gerber stop sign incident in Santa Barbara, a whole bunch of Tesla YouTubers and Tesla influencers drove out to the scene so they could drive their car through the stop sign and show again and again that it wasn't working or it occasionally works. Then Zach from Black Model 3 went back and did it right 5 times. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not going to persuade the people we want to persuade. Dan won. People don't want to accept it. Dan won. The fact that you can come back a week later and say, aha, the people who were already persuaded by Dan's video that reached 25 million people didn't see your response. The fact that it makes you feel better about it doesn't solve the problem. You probably shouldn't engage with Dan. And like, I would love to have a conversation with Dan O'Dowd, but I would do it the right way, which is number one, you explore. You understand his background in a polite way, not asking for his whether you think not trying to imply corruption. You ask to develop his understanding of what FSD is, what are the alternatives. And I want to say this, the really simple point that needs to be made again and again and again about FSD that I feel is not made often enough. It's fantastic now. I think it's great. That's not the point. The point is, at some point, and I think Dan would agree with this, at some point, someone's going to solve autonomy, and that autonomy will save lives. And the minute you solve autonomy, the minute you make self-driving, let's say 10x safer than human driver, some years after that, it will have spread worldwide and it will save 1 million lives a year. So you have this moment in time when you've gotten to the point where FSD is solved, call it solved, where it's safer than human. From that point, X number of years, it's going to take X number of years to spread it throughout the world. When do you want this point to be? Do you want this point to be a year later or a year sooner? Right? Or do you want it now? Right? Dan O'Dowd's approach and the approach of many critics would slow the eventual solution to FSD, to making the roads safer long term. So if I'm correct, if this analysis is correct, that if you solve FSD, let's say at the end of 2024, then 5 years later, you're going to be saving 1 million lives a year. Ballpark. If you wait till the end of 2025 and it's 5 years after that, then there's a year that goes by where you don't save 1 million lives and 1 million people die unnecessarily. So then the question is, and I don't agree with Dan on this, but let's suppose you believe that allowing FSD beta on the roads, as Tesla has done, kills 50 people over the next 5 years. I don't think it's anywhere close to true. I think it actually saves lives already, but let's suppose it's true. Would you trade those 50 lives to save 1 million lives 5 years from now? Dan apparently would not. And I'm not saying that's an easy choice. There's some ethical issues there. Now, the reality, the other question that needs to be asked is, Dan, do you believe that FSD beta driven, operating with a human supervising, is less safe than the average human driving alone without FSD? Do you believe that? Do you believe it's less safe? Not FSD driving on its own, but FSD with a human supervising as they're supposed to. You believe that's less safe, is going to cause more deaths than, and because the evidence that we have, we don't have a lot of evidence, but the evidence we have is that humans supervising FSD beta is safer than humans driving alone. That's the evidence we have. Jupiter James asks, how much will FSD version 12 cost? I don't know if it'll be version 12. At some point, FSD will be safer than human. At some point, they will say, you no longer have to pay attention. You have to be in the drive. The way I see the world progressing is we get to a point where they say you don't have to pay attention anymore, but you have to stay in the driver's seat. And if the car tells you to take over, you have to take over. And then the next step is you don't have to be in the car. You can sit in the back seat. When you get to you don't have to pay attention anymore, I think that's a big value add. I'm not sure if they charge more or if the take rate just goes up. Either way, Tesla makes a lot more money. And this is why production matters. The more cars you have on the road, when you flick that switch, the more, and this is why margins don't matter this year. This is why I don't care what profits are this year. The profits are when you flick the switch and the take rate jumps and 1 million people sign up for FSD in a year, and 1 million additional people sign up for FSD in a year, and let's say they pay $15,000 a year a piece, $15,000 a piece. Well, that's $15 billion in bonus revenue. And maybe it's 2 million people sign up. Or maybe they increase the price to $20,000, but that's a huge jump in value. Then you get to the next level when you start up the robo-taxi network, and that generates a crazy amount of money. Miguel Monte says, what if one of those 50 lives was one of our loved ones? The probability of one of the 1 million lives being one of your loved ones is much higher than the probability of one of the 50 lives being one of your loved ones. Yeah, Pro Ed Jansen, I don't know what happened. I was fine all morning, and I started the live stream, and my nose started acting up. It's probably psychological. I don't have a good answer for you. That's just life. Does the trading cost cheaper when buying all 30 Dow Jones stocks separately on a zero commission? Han, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not really relevant to this video. Can you express Tesla's reasoning for not allowing owners to transfer their paid-for FSD to new EV? Because they want the FSD to stay with the vehicle, and they want you to buy FSD again so that there are more vehicles that have FSD, on the road. I mean, I don't know their reasoning. I think their reasoning, like the plain and simple truth is, when you buy a car with FSD, you know what the deal is. At this point, there's no excuse in buying a new Tesla with FSD and not realizing if you sell the car, you're not taking the FSD with you. I don't know how I don't know how people don't see that. You know the game. At this point, everyone knows the game going in. The FSD stays with the car. It doesn't go with you to your next car. I'm sorry, that's difficult to understand. If FSD level 5 is solved, no one's Tesla valuations will matter anymore. Yeah, I don't use the level system. This is bottled water. I don't have, no. I swear to God, this morning, all morning, I was up, I was eating, everything was great. Start a live stream. I'm telling you, it's psychological. There's something psychological going on. What will the price of Tesla be tomorrow? I expect it to go up, but you don't know. Something else could happen. Shouldn't he just sell FSD outright and not make people subscribe? He doesn't make anybody do anything. You can choose to subscribe if you want to. You can choose to buy FSD if you want to. You don't have to buy it at all. No one's forcing you to do anything. Opinion on Tesla removing ultrasonic sensors for Tesla Vision. Have you tested it? Check out this video. Phil Dwan talks about ultrasonics in this video. Search for Phil Dwan on YouTube. This is a 9-day-old video. He talked about it. Well, I don't know if I've tested, but he talks about it in that video. Watch that video. He explains why they did it. What is the delay with Giga Mexico? I don't think I finished everything I wanted to talk about. What is the delay with Giga Mexico? I don't think there's a delay with Giga Mexico. Stuff takes time. Yeah, please check out elonbits.com for merch, like the t-shirt and the stainless steel water bottles. There's one with TSLA. I can't find my stainless steel water bottle with TSLA. That's my favorite. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, I'm going to turn off my mic for a Starship static fire. Starship is making progress. I think Elon said that the version that's going to launch is going to have 13 engines on the Starship instead of 6. I'm not sure I understood that correctly, but if that's true, that's crazy. So that was big news. And Falcon 9 launched the Euclid mission on a trajectory towards the Sun-Earth Lagrange point. Oh. I want to show you what the Lagrange point is. So you have Earth is in the red circle orbiting the Sun, and these are different Lagrange points. These are stable orbits related to Earth's orbit. So L2 is a Lagrange point orbit that's on the far side of Earth from the Sun. It's a relatively stable orbit, and it allows astronomy going this direction away from Earth. It allows astronomy going the other way. The Earth blocks the sunlight, so it allows the astronomy to be more effective because the satellite is protected from the sun's radiation. Sorry. Matt Byrne asks, did I sell my house? My house closes in about 2 weeks, and I will get a pile of cash. That FSD price comes down substantially when they produce functional autonomy. I don't know if the price will come down or go up. I think it might go up. What do I think about swimming Cybertruck? I don't think swimming Cybertruck is important. That's a narrow use case. Another thing I wanted to talk about, Starlink. So Elon was asked at an event whether Starlink would IPO or what it would be IPO at or something like that. And he refused to answer the question, saying he didn't think he could comment on it under SEC regulations. Sorry. So I did a poll asking people what valuation they would buy Starlink at if there was an IPO. And a background there, if you check my channel, I made a video. I think Starlink will have $1 trillion market cap eventually. So if you bought it at $250 billion market cap at IPO, I think within about 5 years, Starlink is $1 trillion market cap. Maybe it takes 10 years. But you're getting a 4x from $250 billion, which is pretty good. So I think it's likely that Starlink ultimately, it's just, you run the numbers, if you figure they're going to have 100 million customers paying $1,000 a month, and you look at their costs of maintaining satellites in orbit, I think you end up with about $90 billion a year in gross profit once you get running. And $90 billion a year in gross profit, you give it a 11x PE ratio, or 20x PE ratio on net profit, and you're at $1 trillion valuation. So I think it's gonna be more than a $100 billion valuation when it IPOs. So, do I think Elon will do a flying car? No. Well, I think Roadster will fly a little. Um, I'm just looking at. Oh, I did a poll. I don't have the poll here. What do you think will be more likely in 10 years? That you'll be able to fly from Los Angeles to Shanghai on a Starship, or in 30 minutes, that you'll be able to travel from Los Angeles to Shanghai in a Boring Company Hyperloop under the Bering Strait in 6 hours, or that you'll be able to mentally teleport to Shanghai in 5 minutes from Neuralink scanning your brain and transferring your consciousness. Um, and I think people, number one, said I'm crazy was one of the top choices, but Starship was the top choice. Dante says, "Hey Warren, would you fight Zuck if Elon asked you to fill in?" I would if I had time to train. I wouldn't do it like fresh right now, but if you gave me 6 months or 9 months to train, yeah, I would do it. I mean, I did some kung fu and tai chi, and I think I would lose, but I'd give it a shot. Um, I wouldn't enjoy it. Oh, somebody asked about Osaka. I'm expecting to go back to Japan. I'm going to go in more depth on this on my next stream. In about 20 minutes, I'm going to be live on the Daily Live, but I'm expecting to go back to Japan in late August. There's an electric vehicle, a university electric vehicle event in near Shizuoka, Japan, the south, which is west of Tokyo or southwest of Tokyo. There's an EV event where basically university teams build electric vehicles, and I'm going to go to this event. It's about 5 days long, and I'm going to try to interview the teams and talk to the teams and learn more about that, and make videos for YouTube about that event. So, uh, sorry. This is really frustrating. Okay, so if you buy a used Tesla that has FSD, do you get to use it? Yes. If I'm going to be selling, by the way, I'll just mention this now. I have a red Tesla Model X Plaid with white seats and FSD Beta 11.4.4. I will be selling this car soon. If somebody wants to buy it has 42,000 miles on it. I drove it to California and back, New Hampshire and back, southern tip of Texas and back, Austin and back. It's got a lot of miles on it. It drives fantastic. Wonderful car. If somebody wants to buy it, DM me on Twitter. Or my email's wredlick. I'll put my email in the chat. wredlick@gmail. Email me. And if you're interested in buying a Model X Plaid, I'm in Florida. It would be ideal if you were near Florida and you wanted to pick it up in Florida, but I'm willing to drive to Georgia or something like that if you're going to pay for the car. It's going to be about $100,000. I'm expecting, I've looked at what comparable vehicle pricing is, and I'm expecting to sell it for about $100,000. Somebody wants to pay me 110, I'll take it. You'd be overpaying if you ask me. If somebody wants to pay me, 102, that's great. If I end up having to sell it for 95, I'll deal with it. I'll look around. I'm going to try different ways to sell it, but it does come with FSD. When do I expect FSD to come Europe? I have no idea. Do I think Elon's companies to include Tesla will be incorporated into X? No. Yes, good point, Tim. The Model X Plaid is super fast. I can assure you that the car feels very stable at 144 miles an hour. It's the fastest I've gone. Top speed's 149. I haven't gotten there. 472 water. Yeah, I'll probably talk about that more on the Daily Lie. Will Apple hit 4 trillion market cap before Tesla hits 2 trillion? I don't think so. I think Apple will grow, and I think Apple might get to 4 trillion, but I think Tesla will get to 2 trillion before Apple gets to 4 trillion. Am I selling because hardware 3 versus hardware 4? No, I'm selling because I'm moving to Japan. And I'm expecting to live in Japan for at least 3 months and possibly longer. And if I come back from Japan, I own a Model 3 that one of my children drives, and I'm going to take it back from my child if I come back from Japan. What do I think about how the interest rate hikes and how markets haven't incorporated the prolonged high rates currently? I don't know enough about that. I know interest rates are high. I don't know what markets would have done to incorporate that. Yeah, three. Y is the best-selling car in the world. Three is, I don't think three is the best-selling car, but it's the second best-selling EV, I think. And I'll just say a little bit more about the Model X. The Model X is just a great car. It's got a lot of room inside. It's super comfortable. It's crazy comfortable. It's crazy fast. It's impressive. The Falcon Wing doors are really cool. A lot of great things about it. Um, so let me see. Am I going to be live streaming late at night U.S. time? Oh, when I'm in Japan, why am I going to Japan? I'm going to Japan for adventure. I'm going to Japan. Um, my dating life has not been good in the U.S. I think my dating life can't be worse if I go to Japan. I also am planning to start up a single passenger electric vehicle company. I've made some efforts towards that here in the U.S. I've spent about $10,000. I feel like my efforts haven't gone very well. I think it's really hard to find good talent to work on it, and it's expensive to live here, and it's expensive to build a business here. It's actually going to be a lot less expensive to live in Japan. I'm expecting to pay $600 in rent and a month in rent for a two-bedroom. I won't be paying for a car. Um, Eating out is less expensive. Life in general is less expensive there, and hiring engineers is less expensive in Japan. So I think my live stream, I will continue live streaming. I think my live stream will change in time, but it won't be late at night in the U.S. I'll figure out a good time to do it, but it probably won't be at 1 o'clock Eastern time because that would be 2 a.m. in Japan. So I think my plan is to live stream, maybe 10 at night there, which would be 9 p.m. East Coast and 6 p.m. West Coast, something like that. Um, no, Jeff. So Jeff Harrison says Japan tourist visa is 3 months. The only way to longer is to marry a Japanese woman. That is not the only way to make it longer. One way to make it longer is to start up a company and you get a startup visa, which is the intent. You can also go as a student. You can also start up a business, run a business and call it a business manager visa. And there's also something called a highly skilled foreign professional visa that I may qualify for. Japan also has otter cafes. Good one, Mark. That is true. That's Tokyo. Um, I'm not in Japan yet. I'm going to move to Japan. Let's see. Sooner or later, adult conversation about human transition to cybernetic will be important. Jeff Harrison says $600 apartment. It's what's called a 2 LDK in Japan. It's 2 rooms and a laundry dining kitchen room. I think it's LDK is laundry dining kitchen room. That's the standard size. That's probably the most common size apartment in Japan. And in Nagoya and Toyohashi, they're 2 cities I'm looking at. $600 is about what it's going to cost. Yeah, single passenger EV is ideal for my dating life. That's true. Um, I'm leaving in late August. The event I'm going to. I'm leaving Florida in August, going to New York, and then flying from New York to Japan. The event starts in late August, and so I wanted to get there before the event, but I didn't need to leave before that. And also, I'm taking a kid to college in mid-August, and I want to take my kid to college before I go. So Bill says, hello, I'm a new investor with little experience in the stock market. Do you think Tesla is a good investment for me? And how many stocks should I buy? Thanks. So I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not a wealth manager. I would suggest that you talk to somebody whose job is to understand your personal situation and give you advice. I can say for me, Tesla is a good investment for me. I think it's a good investment for many people, but you have to be a person who has a high risk tolerance and a high volatility tolerance. Tesla stock goes up and down a lot. If you buy this, I think it's laundry dining kitchen. Somebody told me, Gormless. And I think you're the one who asked me about Osaka. I do expect to visit Osaka. One of my hopes in being in Japan is that Panasonic is building a 4680 factory in Wakayama, Japan. One of my hopes is going to Wakayama and see if. And I have a friend who lives in Osaka. And Gormless, please email me if you're in Osaka. Please email me because I'll probably go to Osaka. I want to try to network with people in the Wakayama area to see if we can learn more about Panasonic's 4680 factory. And maybe we get a good YouTube video out of that. How to impress an Asian woman? Sure, you have big hands. I am really big by Japanese standards. Like in America, I go out and I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I'm average in America. In Japan, I'm 99th percentile. I'm a wealthy guy, Warren. Am I worried about gold diggers in Japan? I don't think that Japanese women have a reputation for being gold diggers. Japan is a wealthy country. I mean, their cost of living is low. Their wages aren't as high. but it's basically a wealthy country. We're not talking about the Philippines or Thailand or Mississippi. Sorry, Mississippi, just messing with you. Um, so Gormless, please send me an email, wredlick@gmail. We'll talk about it. Do they have prenups in Japan? I'm not worried about that. I'm really not worried about that. Gesundheit. And you die. I do intend to make videos about being in Japan. I don't know that this YouTube channel is the place to document life in Japan, but I will probably post a video here and there. I expect to make videos about Tesla in Japan when I see an opportunity. Probably go to, I made a video once already. I met with the Tesla Club Japan in Tokyo. If I find a supercharger near where I'm living, I'll go to a supercharger, maybe talk to some Japanese people there. That might be worth doing. Um, I'm not going to have a Japanese hair. I just want one woman. Just want one. One's plenty. One's too many. Just want one woman. That's all I want. Um, uh, Kevin King, I don't know if you're familiar with Japanese divorce laws, but neither am I. Yeah, I expect to pay for the cost of living, Gormless. That's correct. I expect to. I'm I'm not poor. I have money. I do expect to do that. So, Be Nice says you documented your life here. Why not? I don't think I've documented life in Florida that much. I don't think you haven't seen pictures of my kids. I don't document. My audience is American. They don't need to hear this is what my life is like in America. There are already YouTube channels that talk about life in Japan. Now maybe I make another YouTube channel to talk about life in Japan. I don't know that that excites me. I really expect to spend my time working on building the electric vehicle. Number one, for the first 3 months, figuring out how I stay in Japan. Um, Particularly, I expect to start up the Podcar company, and I expect to network with certain people to try to find college students to work with me. Yes, I speak Japanese. Nihongo ga dekimasu. I don't speak Japanese extremely well, but I speak it pretty well. My younger child just did 4 years of high school Japanese. We went to Japan together. Bunch of conversations, and she said that my Japanese was way better than hers. What do I think about Tesla insurance being opened up through software? Like, how else would it be opened up? I know a handsome college guy who dated 3 women at once. It drove him nuts. Yeah, it's not worth doing. What happened to my West Boca News channel? Oh, good question. My ex-wife got West Boca News in the divorce, and which was appropriate because she was running West Boca News at that point. I talk about my life, but I don't make videos specifically about, if I'm making videos in Japan, when I'm doing my Sunday live stream, I'll probably talk a little bit about life in Japan, but I'm not going to make videos of focus. I don't expect to make videos about Japan. 472 Water says, how long did you live in Japan to learn? I took 2 years of college Japanese while I was a graduate student, had a Japanese girlfriend, and then a few years later, after I graduated law school, I went to Japan and I lived there for a year. And I really tried to learn Japanese while I was there. Japan has some great burgers. Okay. You say so. Japanese food's fantastic. I love Japanese food. Arcimoto might be for sale soon. You can buy them to kickstart your EV ambitions. Arcimoto took the wrong approach. That is not what I want to do. Do I think an Osaka Tesla factory is possible? Seems unlikely. That's my prediction, Gormless. I think that with Panasonic building a 4680 factory in Wakayama, Giga Osaka makes a lot of sense. I think Tesla should have a factory producing the next generation vehicle in Japan. I don't know when they get to it. It just seems like that's the place. Japan is the third largest car market in the world. We have China, we have North America, we have Europe. Japan should be next on the list. I could do a side channel about dating Japanese women and Japanese culture. See, those channels already exist, and I don't know that I would add value. Older white men dating young Japanese women. Is that maybe that would be popular? I don't know. Moss Burger's okay. The funny thing is, I lived in Japan for a year. I don't think I had a McDonald's burger. I don't think I had a Moss Burger. I don't think I had a burger. Like I don't, I didn't go to Japan to eat burgers. They have great. Go to a Japanese restaurant in America. Go to the best Japanese restaurant where it costs you like $50 for a meal. In Japan, that's $10 and it's better. That's basically it. Literally had a bowl of ramen noodle soup. No, sorry, udon noodle soup for $3.15. That was better than any Japanese noodle soup I've had anywhere in America. Period. Oh, LJ says do a channel on the best Japanese massage parlors. It is you are not, Westerners are not allowed, foreigners are not allowed in Japanese sex establishments. I don't think we're allowed in Japanese massage parlors. I think it's actually illegal. It may actually be illegal. They may not be allowed to let you in. Tesla factory in India. I think Japan is a better choice than India. I think India's car market eventually will be bigger than Japan's, but I think that's in more than 10 years from now. I have German ethnicity. I think my family ethnicity is German / Polish / Austrian / I don't know. My grandfather was born in Poland. What is now Poland? Amsterdam, Poland. There are a lot of Americans who fantasize about dating a small, traditional Japanese woman with a reputation of pleasing you in bed. I want to have kids. I want to get married and have kids again. That's it. Japan is so cheap now compared to anywhere else developed. It's really surprising how low the cost of living is in Japan. By the way, we got about 5 minutes left before I'm gonna end this live stream and do another one. There's a few erotic. I just don't care. I'm not going to Japan for erotic massage. My pod car would probably work in India. Yeah, the original intent of the pod car was India, but I don't plan on going to living in India. That's not my goal in life. I think Japan would be a fun place to live and a good place to live, and I think Japan's a good place to do the initial engineering, and if we actually get something workable, then we would probably build them in India as well. I have not seen the wonderful pistachio commercial, no. Saron. Okay, I'm sure there are places like that that are fine. Or blushing, I don't think so. Free houses in Japan are usually in places you don't want to live, and they need a lot of work. LJ, I have 2 adult children, LJ. One starts college in a month or so, and the other one just graduated college. I took them to Japan for a graduation present. I just spent 8 solid days in Japan, A, to give them a graduation present, B, to spend quality time with my kids, and C, to experience Japan for myself again and see, do I want to live there? And the answer was yes. What is my verdict on production numbers and sales numbers for Tesla this year? Let's go back to that. This is my projection. So this is the numbers so far. And you can see the blanks for Q3 and Q4. And this is a ballpark estimate for the rest of the year, these last 2 lines. And that leads to 2 million vehicles produced for 2023. I'm glad you asked me that. It's good to come back to that before we wrap up. We got about a few minutes left. How are the hot springs in Japan? Hot springs is not something I focused on, although the place I'm going for the EV event, I think the actual hotel I'm staying in is known for its hot springs. So I may actually finally go to a hot spring in Japan. Detra Ed says, oh my, you want more kids after sending those kids to college. So let me just say this really quick because I'm a big believer in this. I believe that having children is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing you will do in life. It is the most important thing that I've done in life. It is the thing that I've enjoyed the most. It is the thing that has worked out the best. I loved being a dad. I still love being a dad, and I want to be a dad more. And I bring Ross Gerber on for another interview. I do not want to have Ross on my channel again. If Ross wanted to come on, I guess I would consider it, but I don't feel like that would be a productive thing to do. How does your legal mind help analyze Tesla? Can you explain how your education played a role in your success? That would be very interesting. I think probably my major in mathematical economic analysis and my 3 years at Stanford Business School's PhD program probably played more of a role. I think my legal knowledge helps sometimes when legal documents come into play. But I would say it's more the mathematical modeling that I did in college and grad school that helps more than anything else. Know what you're going to do? It's written on your forehead. What's written on my forehead? I don't get it. Adopt my college. I don't want to adopt your kids. I want my kids. Dating Japanese women is significantly better than dating American women. I'm not trying to come down on American women. All I'm saying is whatever I'm doing isn't working with American women. I'm trying somewhere else. I know American women. I think they're good people. My children are American women. I like my ex-wife and she's an American woman. I'm not trying to come down on American women. I'm just saying whatever I'm doing isn't working. Apparently being a 6-foot-tall millionaire in reasonably good shape is not what women want. Maybe it's, because I'm a Tesla fan. Maybe it's because I'm a nerd. I don't know what it is. Whatever I'm doing isn't working. After 18 months of trying really hard and having a really bad experience of it, I'm going to try something else. I might be able to do legal consulting in Japan, but I'm no longer admitted in Florida, and I think my bar admission in New York is probably over. Um, yes, I am racist. Why not Mexican women? So I do speak Spanish, but I like Japan better. Not Japanese people so much. I just like Japan better. I like Japanese food better than I like food in Mexico. I think life in Japan is safer. I think Mexico has higher crime. Um, I don't know Mexican culture. I know Japanese culture much better than I know Mexican or any Spanish speaking culture. Um, I'm not saying I wouldn't, Jim. I'm not saying I wouldn't do legal consulting if it came up. It's just not. It's not what I had in mind. I want to start up a company. I want to build a single passenger electric vehicle and get that working and get that FSD installed on it. And I have a vision for that. And that I think that's way more important than doing legal consulting. Um, sure, I'm racist. Aren't we all? I think we're all racist. Everyone says it's a Broadway show. Avenue Q. Everyone's a little bit racist. We're all racist. Come on. I've read some mangas, but not many. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Great question. I don't think so. I don't think it occurred to me to be an entrepreneur until I think I'd already been working as a lawyer. I think I was working for a judge, and I saw all these other lawyers that had law firms, and I thought, well, I'm as smart as that guy. I can do that. I can work harder than that guy. I can do that. So I started my own law firm, and that was the start. And then running my law firm, I saw opportunities to do other things, and I started doing other things. Oh, yeah, the daily life starts in 2 minutes. Change your dressing. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to wrap up now. The daily live is going to start in about 2 minutes. I want to thank everybody for watching. Let me just put these numbers up again. The last two lines are projections. The lines above it are real. And I'm projecting that Tesla will produce 2 million vehicles in 2023. This is with 8% growth the next 2 quarters, quarter on quarter, which is, I think, a reasonable target. We saw 9% growth from the previous quarter. We saw 20% growth Q4 versus Q3. There's a lot of potential for more than this, but I think we could see 2 million vehicles there. Oh, thank you, Mark Potocnik, for gifting a membership. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and be back next week. And please check out the Daily Lie link at the top of the stream or warrenredlick.locals.com. Check out the t-shirts and the stainless steel water bottles at elonbits.com. Support me on the Locals platform on Patreon as a YouTube channel member, Twitter subscriber. Like this video, share, and subscribe. Check out my other videos. And thank you all so much for